Did you know that over 75% of men struggling with anxiety and depression also report battling pornography addiction? Yes, 3 out of 4 men that are struggling with these mental health disorders also report battling with pornography addiction. So in today's episode of the Rebuilt Man, guys, we're going to dive deep and explore the hidden link between porn and the mental health crisis that is facing men today. Because whether or not you want to admit it, we are in a mental health crisis. More men than ever are committing suicide, are reporting anxiety, depression, isolation, loneliness. It is my belief and opinion that a lot of this is stemming from the overstimulation, the overconsumption of this drug known as internet streaming pornography addiction. Before we dive too deep into the episode, guys, I remind you who we are and what we do here. My name is Coach Frank Rich, founder of Rebuilt Recovery and host of the Rebuilt Man podcast. It is our mission to help men become better men by quitting porn and rebuilding their lives. So if you're watching here on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn those post notifications on. If you're listening on the audio side, guys, make sure to subscribe on whatever platform you are listening to today's episode. So let's talk about this problem, guys. Let's talk about how porn is affecting mental health. I think if we can begin to understand a lot of the science behind these things, how porn overstimulates the brain, leading to desensitization and a decreased motivation. So everything that we feel and experience, our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions are tied to this chemical response that is taking place in our brain. And when we're seeking out easy pleasure on pornography, we're getting massive spikes of dopamine. And one thing that Dr. Anna Lemke does an incredible job of explaining in her book is how porn hijacks dopamine, but how dopamine works on a cycle. Okay, so with every spike in your dopamine, you're going to follow that up with a drop, a dip below your baseline. And it's in these moments of dipping below our baseline that we lead to the feelings of depression, anxiety, loneliness, isolation, meaninglessness. Okay, now this is going to be the science behind the emotion. But let's talk about some of the psychological effects that are taking place here, right? So we know that porn fosters feelings of shame, guilt, inadequacy, which is only going to lead you down that dark path of mental health crisis even deeper. Because if you're operating from a place of shame, you do not see yourself through a positive lens. Your identity is now wrapped up and you are not a good person. That's what shame does. Shame attaches our identity to our behaviors. So if we do this thing that causes shame, then we are this bad person because we've done this thing. Now, for 20 years, I struggled with a lot of mental health issues, on the verge of suicide ideation many times. Many moments through my 20s and 30s, I struggled with depression, dark anxiety, loneliness, isolation. Despite having conquered the bodybuilding world, despite having had success in entrepreneurship, I couldn't understand why I wasn't happy. What were the drivers of so much of my depression? When I got on the other side of my pornography addiction, all of this went away and I was quickly able to put the pieces together. That for 20 years, because I was acting out in a way that was not in alignment with who I was, that's what was leading to so much of my mental health struggles. Now, for men, society tells us that it is our job to suppress our emotions. It is our job to, quote unquote, man up, deal with it, fight through, be a man, push through. You can't feel that way. So what this does is this creates this echo chamber when we are struggling with mental health, when we are struggling with addiction, that because we are a man, we cannot reach out for help. Okay, this leads men deeper into this silence, this isolation, this loneliness. And we know in those states is where addiction feeds itself. Okay, now what can happen is in these moments of pain and isolation, pornography can become a false sense of comfort. It can become a false sense of escapism. But what this is going to do is it's going to put us into this vicious cycle now of isolation and even a deeper mental health decline. Okay, so we know it from the science, right? How it's hijacking our chemicals. We know it from the psychological impact on how it's creating this false identity. It creates, though, based upon society's nature of men, that we cannot seek out help. So we have to look within to find the help that we need, but it's not going to be there. Okay, so what is going to be the steps and solutions to getting out of this? one thing we have to do is we have to begin to be honest and clear with ourselves that for whatever reason, this addiction is stemming from our unmet emotional needs and perhaps some unresolved trauma. Okay, so we have to begin to be honest about what porn is doing in our lives. How is it solving a problem for us that maybe we haven't addressed in other areas of our lives? Now, in terms of healing, you need to heal your brain. You need to reset. You need to detox from pornography, from dopamine, from social media, from a lot of these overstimulating things. Now, developing some healthier habits, some healthier coping mechanisms, things like training, exercise, physical endeavors, mental challenges, start a creative project, try to finally launch that side business that you've been thinking about for so long. More importantly, you have to get in a community, okay? So you're gonna need to get your pride out of the way, get your ego out of the way, realize that men need men, iron sharpens iron, and find a community. Now, if you're looking for a place of like-minded men to support you, you can join our school community, SKOOL.com/The Rebuilt Man. We have a free community with training, resources, hundreds of men from all across the globe that are supporting each other and holding each other accountable. And then you're going to need some type of therapeutic approach, whether this is seeking counseling, therapy, working with a coach, beginning to change your identity, beginning to change how you see yourself as a free man. Okay, but we know that this is real. We know that mental health is a major crisis in the world with men right now. And we know that porn is playing a huge role in it. So if we're going to get out of this struggle that we are in right now, we got to remove pornography out of our life. And guys, join us inside the school community. Begin to take the steps, remove the shame, be honest with yourself, begin to allow your brain to heal, get off social media, get off pornography, get off the video games, begin to thrust yourself into creative endeavors, begin to find men that will support you in this journey. And like I said, guys, if you're looking for a community of men out there, join us inside school at The Rebuilt Man, school.com, SKOOL.com/The Rebuilt Man. But make sure to subscribe, rate, review, share this with everybody that you possibly can. But your host, Coach Frank Rich here at The Rebuilt Man. We love you guys. And we'll see you in the next one.